Slurply derp Mudgies. So basically, when you're composing using the Amen break, the Amen break, I want to give you a few tips around it, because the Amen break, although it's wonderful, it's actually really, really difficult to compose with. And I think there's two main reasons for this. One is because of the way it fills out so many frequencies in the mid range. And it's just, if you take a little look on an EQ at sort of what it's doing here. Yeah, it fills out a lot of, even the low mid range here. It's just got a lot of content. Most drum breaks have content going through the whole way, but it's just with the Amen break, it's like the mid range almost becomes like a lead sound because it's also so iconic. That's the other thing. So it's kind of like the frequency content, but it's also just the fact that it's a very iconic sound that it sort of needs to be treated like a lead. So you kind of have to give it space and more priority than you would perhaps with other drum breaks. So that's really the tricky thing about the Amen break is it's difficult to mix it in. It's difficult to mix it in a track. And I have made a loop here, and I'm going to show you some tips on how to compose with the Amen break. Let's have a quick listen to this loop first, right? So what I've done is I've chosen like 5 sounds to go with it, but I've been really, really selective, and I've taken time to actually pick out sounds that go with it. And so, yeah, if you're using the Amen break as like the foundation of your track, which is a great thing to do, you're basically narrowing yourself down a lot because you have to pick sounds that will fit with the Amen break. If you're doing a normal track and you're just using the Amen break in like a section or using it as maybe as a background element somehow in your drum beat, or you're just kind of doing little fills with the Amen break, that's a different story, But if you're composing like fully with the Amen break involved, then you need to cater to the Amen break with everything that you do. So it's almost like you're working with a vocal and you need everything to kind of fit naturally with the vocal. It's kind of like that important with the Amen break, So you want to just you want to put all of your energy into getting the absolute best sound selection that you can, and it's about just finding those sounds that fit with the Amen break. And obviously you can choose whatever sounds you can find wherever that will fit with it naturally. But if you stick to classic sounds that are classically used in this kind of context with the Amen break with like a jungle sound, it's going to be easier because you kind of already know. Because it's iconic, you kind of expect certain sounds to fit with it already, So it's difficult to take it in new directions always. Obviously you can, but like if you do choose like more classic sounds, it'll be a lot easier, So things that I've used, noise. I've used some vinyl noise, some sort of vinyl crackle and vinyl noise, which I've reverbed out, and this is it's almost acting as a bed for the Amen break to sit on top of, Just creates this extra bit of high-end content and extra depth for the break to sit on top of. So it's like a bit of a bed, Quite a classic choice of sound, vinyl crackle, Amen break. It's been sampled from an old vinyl record, so it kind of makes sense, right? But yeah, it's kind of just filling out the high-end content with that. Then I've got like a dub delay guitar stab skank kind of thing, which sounds like this. So that gives you like a bit of a sort of ragga kind of feeling to the composition, And it's playing a bit of a chord. It's kind of going like C, D, and then D sharp. And that actually has been what I've done is all the sounds that I've used, I've got from free sample packs or free sound, mostly from freesound.org. So I got this vinyl noise from Freesound, which sounds like this on its own. Okay, it's quite. If I turn it up for you a second. Yeah, some vinyl crackle, and there's also some vinyl hiss, which is slightly different to the crackle, more sustained, you know. So, but they work together with some processing. To do like a hiss slash sustain, a hiss slash crackle for the vinyl, you know. But those are samples that I got from Freesound, and this also is a sample I got from Freesound. And if I just take a look at the original sample here, I'll show you what I've done to it because it's quite different. If you have a listen. Okay, that's actually the sample on its own, like a one shot, you know. But I ran it through the Evoke. And it obviously completely changed it, right? I've tweaked the preset a little bit, but it's basically a preset on the Evoke called Back to 2009. And it just works really well on this dub kind of sample. And it's got voices here, which are doing a lot. It's actually on 100%. The voices here actually change the actual pitch of the sound, pitch of the sample, so it's a completely different pitch to what it was originally, but it now fits better with my beat, you know? I tweaked a few things here in the Resynth engine, but yeah, as you can see, you know, with the Evoke, it's a vocal resynthesis plugin, but it can be used on anything, and it's changed the the whole harmonics of the sample and created some extra voices to give it like a chord pattern, and that's made quite a nice melody, you know. I've then just cut out a lot of low end, sort of around 200 or 300 a few times over with the EQ, because we're going to be fitting a bass underneath it as well, you know, as you kind of heard already earlier. What I did was I bounced that out as a sample when it's done, so I've got it here. Okay, so you don't need this anymore. I just wanted to show you my working, you know, my work in progress. Yeah, so we've got this kind of dub guitar. In terms of the noise as well, just briefly, what I did for the noise was I processed it with the Beam Haze. So that's also a great free plugin. I used a flange verb on this kind of crackly sound. And then I took out some low end and I ran it all through a big reverb with a supermassive as well. Okay, so nice and reverby. I did the same thing for the vinyl hiss. I did the Beam Haze to change the harmonics using the flange verb, and then cutting out some low end and then spacing it out in supermassive. And then I just put those two guys in a group, and then on the group here, I've just taken out more low end, and I've sidechained it to the break, so it has a bit of movement, and the break kind of cuts through the noise a bit nicer. Then I just kind of boosted up all the high end, and I took out some more low end, and then yeah, it just feels, it needs to be turned down a bit in the mix as well here. So yeah, that's the depth layer, the noise, just the processing for that, you know? So anyway, we got the guitar and we got the noise. So the next thing I wanted to add in was a fat, jungly bass underneath it, a sine wave bass. And the reason this works is, again, because we're composing things around the almond break, you know? And yeah, with the almond break, because it's got so much mid-range in, where you get the most conflict is going to be between the bass and the almond break, and it leads as well. But if you pick sounds that are like neurofunk sounds, for example, or just sounds with a lot of mid-range in, you know, if I were to go for another preset, for example, maybe this one here. This is from my Serum preset pack. You know, sounds like this that have a lot of mid-range in and a lot of stuff going on. like they won't fit as well with the almond break. Again, that one, like it's kind of okay, but it doesn't really let the almond break shine through. Whereas if you just stick to the classic jungle kind of sub, then it's just kind of the perfect match for the almond break, you know. It fits perfectly underneath it, and you can hear all the character from the break because there's no sort of real, you know, there's not too much mid-range in the bass. And so, yeah, this is a jungle power sub from my preset pack, Dissonance, on my website in case you want to grab it. But yeah, I've just used that, and I've just kind of followed the guitar pattern here. Okay, no side chaining done or anything, no mixing done on this tutorial at all. It's just showing you sound selection ideas, you know? So we got the almond break now with the noise kind of behind it, giving a bit of depth and high end. We got the guitar like it's just sparse, you know, so it's not overtaking the almond break because it's just like one shot stabs, you know, so it's not too overwhelming. The jungle bass is sustained on the whole time, but because there's no mid-range in, it's just in the low end. It allows the break to fit perfectly, like kind of on top of it, you know. And so the only other thing that I've done then is a bit of call and response with some vocals and some siren effects, okay? So firstly, I use this vocal here, which is from a free taster preset sample pack. And it sounds quite different before the evoke. I did use the evoke on this one again. Worldwide! That's the original. And when you run it through the evoke, obviously it changed it a lot. I went for this back to 2009 preset again because it had a similar kind of vibe where it kind of adds all these extra voices and changes all the harmonics and gives it more of a chord kind of flavor to it, you know. It's already some sort of reverbs and delays going on naturally. Then I've just cut out a bunch of low end again, sort of all around 200 hertz, to give a bit of space for the bass and the kind of rest of the elements as well. A bit of the almond break as well, give that a bit more space. But yeah, it's got this long reverbing and delaying vocal kind of characteristic to it, you know. So again, I just bounced that out, and then I've got my kind of fresh bounce here. You can go over it one more time with the EQ if I need to, just make sure it's nice and tidy in the low end. Again, we're not doing much mixing work, but it kind of works because it's got a bit of, it's worldwide, it's got a bit of a classic kind of feeling to it, the vocal, you know. I tried out a bunch of other vocals, and so there's certain, you know, rap vocals or other types of singing or vocals that were a bit more going down the garage or house kind of route, didn't quite naturally fit so well with the vibe that the almond break wanted, you know. So choosing vocals that kind of fit that vibe as well is important. Obviously you don't have to use vocals, but I thought this one was quite a nice fit, you know, so. And then I wanted to sort of response to the vocal, right? So here what I've used is the siren. The dub siren. And again, I've just found that on Free Sound, so you can go and get it on there. But yeah, it's nice. Nice movement on this one. And so I have two versions with beam haze on each. And the first one has, you believe, yeah, maybe it is the default setting on the first one. So yeah, it basically gives it a bit more of a stereo character, kind of expands it out in the stereo field a bit. And the second one here, I've used the plucked raindrops, which have a much bigger, longer kind of reverb effect on them. They become like, you know, really overly long, that kind of reverb, but it gives kind of different sort of vibe to the siren. So, you know, you have the siren playing twice, but each time it's slightly different, you know. But yeah, siren effect is like mostly a high-end thing, and it's like an effects sound, so it's really easy to fit that sort of thing in the mix. So again, it's a sound that will like just like easily work. So the vocal again was like a one shot, but it had a vibe that would sort of fit with an almond break kind of idea, you know. And the sirens again, they kind of fit with the same vibe, but also they're just like one shots, so they're not like gonna be conflicting with the break the whole time because it's just like a momentary thing. So that's also why it's sort of easier to use that kind of sound with the almond break, you know. So yeah, basically recap. You know, we got we got 5 sounds, all just picked out sort of samples that are chosen to fit around the almond break, you know. So almond break is completely the central piece of the composition. Okay, bit of noise sitting just behind it and filling out a bit of extra high end. Okay, dub guitars not overtaking the break because they're quite sparse, and also adding to that sort of reggae ragga vibe as well. Okay, nice fat jungle sub bass that has loads of sine wave power in the low end, but not much else. So it leaves a lot of space in the mid range and high end for the break to still do its thing. Okay, cheeky vocal to kind of fit with the amen break ragga jungly kind of vibe. Just a one shot with a bunch of delay and reverb on. And then obviously our little siren as a little response to the vocal. High pitched kind of bleepy effect stuff, not really getting in the way of the break, you know, in terms of the mid range or anything like that, you know. So you've got these 5 sounds then, which completely complement the break and don't try to interrupt it, you know. And it was not easy to find 5 samples that do that, you know, because you have to go through a bunch of other ideas and sounds that will conflict with the break, and you have to like decide, okay, no, I can't use that. Okay, no, I can't use that. So it is like limiting yourself when you're composing with the almond break, because you're trying to fit things that go around it and with it, you know. So that's how to compose with the almond break, as a sort of tip from me to you. I hope it helps you guys out. Yeah, and it's not so much of a mixing tutorial today. It's more of a getting you know, really precise with your sound selection, so that you're just allowing for things to just work naturally with the kind of vibe that you're going for, you know. So when you go for an amen break, you are going down a certain route and a certain vibe, and you are kind of narrowing yourself down a bit with your options, you know. So you have to be aware of that, and then like choose your sounds accordingly, so that you can give it the space to have its life, you know, because otherwise you'll just interfere with the kind of break too easily, and it will sound a bit naff, you know. So anyway, that's a little sound selection kind of tutorial for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it helps you out, guys, and much love, respect to everyone on the channel. Leave us a like and a comment and all that good stuff, and more from me very soon. Yeah, much love, everyone. Take care and happy producing.